Time now for The Real Estate Connection with Stephen Thayard, a realtor and certified probate and real estate specialist. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned investor looking to downsize, move up, or refinance, this program is for you.
Our house in the middle of a street. Something tells you that you go to in the middle of.
From probate sales to landscape design to home repairs and maintenance, this is your weekly look into all things real estate. Now your host for The Real Estate Connection, Stephen Thayard.
Good morning. Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Hey, glad that you could make it. I appreciate you checking in. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Got a new sound effect, so gonna try it out right now. You ready? Hey! Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me today on the Real Estate Connection. So I'm going to dial into the radio station and we're going to get this thing started. The topic of today's show are tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. So here we go. I'm going to call into the station and we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling right now. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me as I'm broadcasting during this whole shelter-in-place stuff. It's all good. We're going to keep on rocking and rolling just like it never happened. So here we go, calling into the studio right now. That's right. Hey, radio station, Stephen Thayard calling in, ready to record the show. All right, sounds good. Got a new producer today that we're working with for the first time, and we're just hoping and praying everything goes really smooth. How's everybody else doing out there? Anybody out there? Can I see ya? Can I see ya? Can I see ya? Somebody say hello or something. Give me a shout out. Anyway, welcome to the program. I appreciate you guys joining me today. Hopefully everything's working on the technology side of this whole deal. I know that it's been interesting trying to get my connection into some of these live social media platforms. Haven't been working lately, so I'm hoping that this is connecting at least to you guys on YouTube, and I was hoping that Facebook would work today, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. All right. All right. Otherwise, I'm going to have to give these people a call to see what is going on. All right. So, as we wait for our producer to check the levels and get things rolling, I'm going to check my YouTube to see if I'm live there. Oh, yeah. I am live on YouTube. So, good. I may be putting out a message now moving forward just to go to YouTube until we get this thing straightened out with Facebook, because it looks like Facebook is not working so well these days for some reason. Unbelievable. How are we doing, Mr. Producer? We there? Are we there? Yes, sir. I think we're back. All right, our producer is back on the line, and I think we are ready to move forward. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Connection with your host, Stephen Thayard, and realtor up here in Northern California. Thanks for joining me today as we have another shelter-in-place edition. I think this is number 8. So I want to thank you for hanging in there with me. Hopefully you guys are taking care of all of your past honeydew lists or getting projects done around the house or taking advantage of the extra time that you may have if you're not actually working. And I thank you for joining me this morning. Today's topic is, and I think this is going to be a good one, as they say, the show is going to be lit. Today's topic is tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. So again, welcome. It appears that we are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for this coronavirus. The governor is moving forward with the state into phase 2, and some counties are independently moving forward with more aggressive openings. I think they're Yuba and Sutter counties. I have read in various locations on the internet. And just a reminder that the whole reason for the shelter in place order was to flatten the curve and not to eradicate the virus altogether. I don't think we've eradicated the flu. I don't think we've eradicated the common cold. And by us being out and about, we actually develop antibodies and a stronger immune system by being in contact with other people and swapping germs, as they say. So hopefully, as this thing lifts, we'll be able to get back out and develop that herd immunity that people are talking about. We may be in a place in the future too where we have to just live with this virus moving forward and adapt. And as people get it and then develop antibodies and more people get it, it will just turn into all the other viruses that we deal with on an annual basis. But in the meantime, with that being said, we should adjust and move forward the best we can locally, statewide, and as a nation, and then come together and just try to get our economy back rolling, right? Because if we're not making money, then we're not supporting our families and able to put a roof over our head and things of that nature, and our freedoms and liberties. Those are all gifts from the Lord, and so we need to be appreciative of that. So with that being said, here's a blessing for good things to come. This comes out of Philippians 4, 6 through 7. I thought this was really a really good Bible verse to read. Even if you're not a believer, it's just sage advice, sage wisdom. For believers out there, you know it already very well. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving," that means be thankful, tell God what you're thankful for. And I'm telling you what, when you start rattling off all the things that you're thankful for, it puts a lot of what's going on in perspective because it balances it out. When you have a bunch of bad news all the time, when you go through the list of all the things that you have in your life that are a blessing currently, it helps to counteract the negative. With thanksgiving, present your requests to God, the ultimate arbiter of the world, the creator of everything, the creator of our soul and our mind and our body, the air, the earth, everything. Bring your requests to God. And here's the promise. If you do this, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That means if you do these things, if you bring your petition to God and don't be anxious or worrisome and be thankful for what you have and then tell God what you need, His promise is that He will bring peace to you that transcends all understanding, and it will guard your heart and your mind. And that's important because our minds are at being attacked by the negative all the time. And so is our heart. And when your heart and your mind get attacked, it tends to bring you down and it gets you depressed and you can't really enjoy life. So this is a blessing for everybody. Remember this, Philippians 4, 6 through 7. What more could you ask for than the peace of God, which transcends all understanding? Now, before we get started with today's topic of the show, tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud, I would like to bless you. If you email me for a no obligation appointment to give you an estimate on the value of your home, or just sit down to discuss the prospect of buying a home, I have a gift for you. Now, this also includes if you want information about probate. I am a certified probate real estate specialist. If you have a loved one that has recently passed and you're dealing with probate because they may not have had a will in place or a trust in place and you need to sell the property in the estate in order to get the money out to distribute to the heirs, I would be happy to sit down and talk to you about that process and how to get that done. I would like to bless you, and if you email me for any of these reasons. I give you a book called The Family Preparedness Buyer's Guide, and this is a must-have book for any family preparing for an emergency. It's a bestseller. It provides you with information on survival gear, tools, food, self-defense. Chapters include emergency shelter, fire, clothing, communication and navigation. Recently, I bought a handheld radio that can be broadcast on the ham radio frequency, which is very good to have in a survival situation. Right now, it's a little bit more difficult to get your ham radio license, but it's something that I would honestly advise that people who are preparing for a disaster acquire. They're not expensive. You can listen to emergency radio, weather, and local police bands if the power goes out and the cell phones aren't working. It's a great survival tool. So I have a copy of this book. It's very easy. It's a very easy read and lots of useful information for you. So reach out and contact me at info@realestateconnectionradio.com. Again, that's info@realestateconnectionradio.com. That's all one word, info@realestateconnectionradio.com. That should be easy to remember. Shoot me an email. Let me know if you have any questions about today's show or anything else real estate related. And again, if you have questions about either selling your home or buying another one or probate, let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. Now, let's get down to business in today's show. As a realtor who tries to practice an ethical business based on the needs of my clients, the thought of actively trying to harm another human being for my own financial gain baffles me. It just baffles me. However, I know there is evil in the world, and there are those out there who don't sleep at night unless they are planning something evil for the next day. Actually, Psalm 36:4 says, "He plans wickedness upon his bed. He sets himself on a path that is not good. He does not despise evil." There are people in the world that are just geared this way. They are walking around looking for any opportunity to take advantage of people. And plus, for myself, my mother is getting older, and as she slows down a bit every year, she becomes more susceptible to the tricks of evil people in the world. And I think that's just the case as for all of us as we get older and as we slow down and our brain starts to get less active and we're not engaged in the world as much, and maybe we retire from the world, we just tend to be a little bit more susceptible to things out there. So today's topic is tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Okay, so my producer said we have 1 minute, and before we jump into those tips directly, I think we're going to take a commercial break. But stay with me. Grab a piece of paper, a pen, or a pencil so you can take notes. Even if you're not older and this is not for you, you can be looking out for these types of activities for your parents or loved ones who may be over. So when we get back from the break, we're going to jump into these details, and stay with me. And thank you for joining me today. God bless you. I hope you're having a great weekend and enjoying this fantastic weather and staying safe and healthy. I will see you when we get back from paying some bills. I will see you in a minute. All right, that's the producer telling me that he's going to need 1 second, and we're just going to wait as he dials me up, and then we're going to jump into our second segment as we start to discuss the details of how to avoid tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. That's right. Yeah, playing with my sound effects today. How about that? Huh? How you like me now? Okay. All right. Like I said, this show's gonna be lit. Are we ready to get started, Mr. Okay. And I'm gonna count myself in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to today's show. Welcome back to the Real Estate Connection with your host and realtor and probate real estate specialist, Stephen Thayard. Thank you for joining me this morning as we discuss tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Now, before we went to the break, we were discussing how I cannot fathom that there are people out there looking to defraud people in this world. However, based on the word of God in Psalm 36:4, it says plainly, he plans wickedness upon his bed. That means while he's sleeping, he sets himself on a path that is not good. Deceiving people is definitely not good. He does not despise evil, which means he embraces it. There are people who actually can't sleep at night until they figure out a way to rob or deceive people. And as you may be listening to this show, even if you're not an older person who is maybe taking notes for learning not to be swindled in real estate, you may have a loved one that's getting older. My mom is getting up there. She's still really with it. But, every year we start to slow down a little bit. So it may be important for you to just take some notes and know what's out there and what can be used against senior citizens as it relates to real estate fraud. So I need to give a shout out for where I get this information from before we actually jump in. So I'm getting my information today from a paper issued by the California Department of Real Estate on September 5th, 2014 by Wayne Bell, Real Estate Commissioner for the California Bureau of Real Estate. So this is a man with a title and a background to be the expert in this field. And so what I've done is I've taken the paper and grabbed all the useful information out of it and condensed it down so that I can provide it for you today. So all of this information, I give credit to Mr. Wayne Bell, Real Estate Commissioner for the California Bureau of Real Estate, based on a paper he wrote on September 5th, 2014. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it. So why are senior citizens targets? So we need to get into the why before we get to the how. This is why. Often, senior citizens have excellent credit, right? Lived a long time, they've been around, they've kept their house, if they have one, they've been paying their bills. You get into a habit, right? And you've learned some things across time, how not to fall into traps and pitfalls of getting behind or getting down in your credit. And even if that has happened to you in the past and you've corrected yourself, you've gotten into good habits. So now you've been rocking this really great credit score for a long time, right? So that's one of the reasons seniors are a target. The other one is that they're most likely to have a nest egg or savings. So if you've been living on this earth for a little while and you've seen a few things, you've learned to save because you know there's something that comes knocking at your door every once in a while, and that's called unexpected bill. Unexpected bill comes knocking at your door, and if you don't have money in the bank, it's going to be a world of hurt for you financially. So older people over time have learned to save not only for retirement, but for unexpected bills. So they might have a nice nest egg or savings, and if they own a home, they're most likely to have equity in that home. Lots of cash tied up into equity. And as we know in California, excuse me, as we know in California, if you've owned your home for more than 5 years, you've probably built up some equity. So if you're older and you're like some of the people I know who have been in their house and they're the first owner, they may have purchased that thing back in the 70s for like $25,000. And if they're sitting in the middle of Blossom Valley in San Jose, it's now worth what, $1 million on average? And so they're sitting on a boatload of equity and their house is probably paid off. So that also makes them a good target. Also, older people are less likely to report fraud because they're not sure where to report or how to report. Now, to be honest with you, if I was a victim of fraud, I don't know off the top of my head where to go to report. I'm going to have to do some research and look it up. So if you're older and you haven't kept up with technology and you're not sure where to go, you may just sit back and take it. Or you may be embarrassed to tell people about it because, you pride yourself at being pretty smart because you've lived a long time and all of a sudden something happens to you that you weren't expecting and you're not sure where to report or if you want to report. Also, along those lines, older people are less likely to report due to fear of family taking over their financial affairs, right? This is a real fear for those who are getting older. What if you make a huge financial mistake? You're already starting to make a few things and you're starting to get a little bit forgetful, and maybe you're not keeping up with the chores around the house, and your family's starting to pressure you to leave your home, to maybe go into an assisted care facility, and you're fighting and you're battling to stay where you're at. And all of a sudden you get duped by in a big way financially. You're afraid that if you tell your family members, that's just going to be the last straw for them, and they may want to take over your financial affairs. This is a real big deal. So people who commit fraud on seniors are aware of this, and they push. So these are the reasons why seniors are targets. So let's jump into what are the tips to avoid real estate fraud for senior citizens. First tip, be skeptical of unsolicited offers, okay? So if you're going along and you're doing just fine and you start getting a lot of offers out of the clear blue sky for things that you're not familiar with or that sound too good to be true, be skeptical. Do not be afraid at the entry point to ask questions to family members. This is when it's appropriate. And will also let them know that you're on top of it. You're receiving stuff in the mail, it sounds good, or you're watching things on television during the middle of the day when a lot of this stuff is being advertised for people who are retired and at home, for things that tend to meet your situation because they're targeting you. So if you're be skeptical of all unsolicited offers. Point number 2, if you are not interested in an offer or do not feel a need, feel free to politely say no, or if the caller or person at the door will not take no for an answer, feel free to hang up or shut the door. Now, there are a lot of times in the middle of the day, people are going to knock on your door or call you to solicit you for offers. If it's not something that's been on your mind, that you've been planning to do, or you do not understand, do not feel as if you need to listen or be polite. Once they get you talking, sometimes they can talk people into stuff. And I, as a realtor, get phone calls all day long from different solicitors trying to talk me into buying different products that they claim to be the end all to be all to help make my business better. However, I've learned that as I'm planning my business marketing during the year, if it's not something that I'm looking for, to just politely say no, and if they won't take no for an answer, to politely hang up the phone or to say no and shut the door and walk away. If it's not something you're planning for and you don't understand it, walk away. All right. Also, remember that solicitation for real estate services on your behalf must have the person's license information on the solicitation material. So if you are getting things in the mail, like postcards, flyers, or if someone comes knocking on your door, ask for a business card. If you do not see the person's Department of Real Estate number on the material, know that they probably are not licensed. And if they're not licensed, you should not be working with them. That's coming up in another tip. So I will tell you, I have my license memorized and I'm not afraid to share it. I will share it with you right now. My DRE license number is 017000019. You can look me up all day long on the Department of Real Estate. I have no problems with anybody going there and checking on my background. And if somebody is soliciting you for services and they are not willing to share their Department of Real Estate license number, you should definitely, without any hesitation, walk away. Walk away, run, shut the door, hang up. Again, my number is 017000019. Again, 017000019. I am licensed by the Department of Real Estate in the state of California, and you can look that number up anytime you like. All right, so the other hint is work with only California Department of Real Estate licensed realtors or brokers. Okay, for any type of services being offered or provided, make sure the person is properly licensed. This is super duper important. All right, so we're running up on a minute, which means I'm probably down to 30 seconds. When we get back from the break, I'm going to show you or tell you how to look people up. Whether you have an internet connection or not, you can still verify people and if they're licensed by the Department of Real Estate in the state of California. So stay with me, and I will be back after we get done with this commercial break and paying some bills, and hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil to write this information down. And I'll see you in a minute. All right, so we are going to go ahead and cruise. This is segment 3, another long segment for all my live listeners. And if my producer is ready, I'm just going to count down because I'm on a roll. Okay, he's queuing me up. Queuing me up. I know, it was pitchy. It was pitchy. I know. Is there any other? Okay. All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you again for joining me on the Real Estate Connection with your host and realtor and probate and real estate specialist, Stephen Thayard, out of Northern California. Today's show is all about tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking about the fact that if anyone is soliciting for real estate services to provide for you, that they need to be licensed by the California Department of Real Estate. And I was also sharing that I have a DRE number myself, which is 0170019, which anyone can look up to see if my license is valid, if there's been any fraud or complaints filed against me, any of that stuff. You can go right and look it up. It's out there for the public to see. Now, before we went to the break, I was going to tell you guys how you can look up someone's number. And it's very easy. You just go to www.dre.ca.gov. Again, the internet website is www.dre.ca.gov. One more time, www.dre.ca.gov. Now, if you do not have an internet connection and you don't feel comfortable doing it that way, you can call 1-877-373-4542. Again, the phone number for the California Department of Real Estate is 1-877-373-4542. You can also use other methods to check out a person as well by calling or contacting the Better Business Bureau, or you can also perform an internet search for possible bad reviews. So if the person's talking to you, obviously they're going to provide you with a name, at least, hopefully, and maybe the name of the company that they're working with in order to provide those services. I encourage you to, if you're at all skeptical, which you should be starting out, to do an internet search on your favorite search engine, no matter what that may be. If you're not comfortable with doing an internet search, then go ahead and call your family member. Say, hey, somebody came knocking on my door. I've been getting this information. It sounds interesting. I'm not sure, though. I need help checking it out to make sure it is valid, or if it's something that would help me or not help me in my current situation. At that point, you get your family member involved, and hopefully if they love you and they care about you, right, they're going to do what's best for you and help you out in deciphering whether or not you should entertain any of these services that are being offered. Also, while you're talking to the person, ask for references and then follow up. Again, if you're not comfortable on the internet, ask for names and telephone numbers so that you can call the people that have worked with them in the past, and hopefully it's not a giant scam and they don't have people lined up to support their offer. that are going to just tell you a bunch of positive things. Do as much homework as you can in order to vet the individual no matter what's going on. Okay, let's move on to the next point. My next topic, as far as next tip to help as far as not falling into real estate fraud, is never, ever, ever, ever pay anyone cash directly or wire money to any individual offering you services, real estate services, directly. So I know what you're saying. If I'm buying a house, I have to pay money somehow. Usually in this market, it's not 100% financing. At some point, there's cash involved. And you're right. Cash is needed to close escrow on the purchase of a home in real estate. However, the money will never be sent directly to the real estate professional. I, as either an agent or a realtor representing a seller or a buyer, never takes a cash payment directly from the person I'm working for. It always goes through a title company, okay? It goes through a title company. And this is a company that is a third-party intermediary that's working on behalf of the buyer and the seller so that everybody is kept honest. And no money is transferred before the transaction actually closes. Verify with the title company before you wire money as well. The title company will provide wire instructions to you, and nowadays it's through an encrypted email. Again, if you're not comfortable with that sort of thing, with wires, get a family member involved to help you who can walk you through the details. Okay, this is important. Make sure that you're just not wiring money out to somebody just because they ask you to. If you use cash for anything real estate related, so if it's a rental and for some reason your deposit, they're requiring it to be in cash, which I find that very suspect and should be a red flag anyway. If you use cash for anything real estate related, get a receipt. Always get a receipt. If it turns out to be fraud, you will have evidence for the prosecutors to use against the person who defrauded you. At the very minimum, get a receipt. Now, the other thing you can do to protect yourself or loved one against real estate fraud for seniors is to protect your personal information, especially your social security number, due to the rise of identity theft. Provide it only when necessary, okay? So, if at all possible, push back on anyone asking for your social security number. It should never be if it's required, have them show proof or evidence of that requirement, whether it be a federal or state requirement that you have to provide your social security number in order to identify you, right? As a realtor myself, when I'm working with buyers or sellers, I never ask for a social security number. I'm not an expert in the rental field. I'm not sure if doing a background check on a person for credit worthiness that you're going to need a social security number, probably. But in that regard, you're going to want to make sure that the person you're working with is licensed to do that type of work, so that there's some sort of recourse you might have against them if they should lose or your identity should get stolen because you provided that information to the person. Okay, the next tip is do not pay in advance for home loan or foreclosure relief services. Now, you may be saying foreclosure relief services. I haven't seen that in a long time, and that's true. We haven't. The market generally has been strong over the last 10 years, and foreclosures have generally fallen off a cliff, and we don't see the need for help with foreclosures. However, with this new coronavirus and the economy being shut down and people being out of work, we may see uptick for a little while in this type of work. Generally speaking, most people who were solid before the shelter-in-place orders were put into effect are still solid now, because it's going to take longer than 2 or 3 months to put someone into a notice of default situation where you're going to actually lose your home. There's something out there called forbearance, which allows people to skip a few mortgage payments and possibly add it on to their mortgage to pay off in the future. And generally speaking, it takes about a year, maybe a year and a half for foreclosure to go through. So I'm not going to say that we're going to see a lot of this right now, but if you are in that situation, you were teetering on the edge, this may have sent you over into this. So if anyone's offering you for foreclosure relief services, don't pay for it up front. All right, so I was told this was 30 seconds. So when we get back from the break, we're going to keep going through more tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Thank you very much for joining me on today's show. And again, I hope you and your family are safe. And when we get done from paying some bills, we'll get into more detail, because we have a lot. This show has been lit, and we have a lot more to cover. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. This is one of those comfortable shows where I have way more information to share than I have time, which is what I love. Ha-ha! Yes, I have way more information than I have time, but that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a blessing. Then I don't get nervous about whether or not I'm going to be able to fill up the time on the show. So I hope you guys are enjoying. I am not happy, though, that I'm not broadcasting live on Facebook today, and I'm going to have to contact my service provider to see what's going on there. All right, whenever you're ready, sir. Okay, I'm going to count it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining me, your host, Stephen Thayard, realtor and probate real estate specialist on the Real Estate Connection, as we are discussing tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Before we went to the break, we were talking about protecting your personal information and also not to pay in advance for home loan or foreclosure relief services. Now, we have not seen a lot in the marketplace as far as foreclosure relief services, because the market's been strong for the last 10 years, and we've only been in this shelter-in-place situation for about 2 months. So if you were teetering on the edge already, this may have actually sent you over the edge. However, there are some protections in place in the state of California to prevent foreclosure from moving forward if what sends you over the edge has been the shelter in place. However, also for home loan services, you should not pay in advance for those services as well. This work should only be paid for when the work has been completed. Make sure you have a written agreement of the work to be performed so that you know what the criteria is for payment as well. If they say they're going to do X, Y, and Z verbally, and then they come back and say, well, we've done all we could and they've only done X and Y, then you're going to have a verbal disagreement as to whether or not you should make payment. If it's in writing what they're going to do, and then they have not performed the service, then you know that you should not pay them and you're protected. So again, don't pay for any services that have not been completed. And make sure you know exactly the dollar amount you will pay for the services provided, so that the amount does not change at the end of the provision of services. Nothing worse than a bait and switch when they say it's going to be $500 for us to get the job done. It was never put in writing. And then they come back and say, well, you owe us $1,000 because X, Y, or Z, or this or that. Make sure that you have everything in writing so that when you make the payment and the services have been provided, you can show that it's been done and you have protection. Okay, so the next tip is don't sign a purchase agreement or a rental agreement or a home loan for something you cannot afford, no matter what you are told. Okay, so why do I say this? Oftentimes, you could be sold a home loan that is out of your price range because they're saying, well, because of equity or the savings you have or this or that, in the future, this is going to adjust downwards, or it's only for a short period of time. It's not going to be as long. It's only going to be a couple of months, and you can afford it for a couple of months, and then it's going to adjust downward. No matter what it is, whether it's a purchase agreement for a house, whether it's a rental agreement for something that you're looking to rent, or it's some sort of loan product, if it is not something that you can afford at the very beginning, do not sign the documents. There are no guarantees that what they have said to you verbally is going to happen in the future. Protect yourself. Trust your gut instinct. If you're not feeling comfortable about it, then do not sign it. Walk away from the situation. Know your limits. You've been going along just fine with a budget, balancing your checkbook, paying your bills on time, and then all of a sudden someone comes along and says you can afford more than what you think you can afford. Don't trust it. Follow your instincts and walk away. Also, the same old adage holds true. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. All right? If it sounds too good to be true, it is. All right, so that's the next tip. All right. So what is the other information that you need to know? All right. Never sign a real estate transaction or rental agreement or home loan agreement that you do not understand, okay? If you don't understand it and you can't put your brain around it and it doesn't make sense to you, slow down. Do not feel pressure from a you must act now offer. If that's coming at you right now, then this is another time to get family involved. Um, uh, Anytime a salesman pressures me, and they say, "Hey, if you don't sign up for this great offer at this price within the next 24 hours, you're going to lose this opportunity and somebody else is going to take it." My first answer is I need time to process this information. And if I lose this offer and after I've come to an understanding, then it wasn't meant for me to move forward in the first place. Trust your gut. Slow the process down. And if the person gets agitated, that's a surefire sign that somebody's trying to scam you into something that may not be best for you, but it's good for them. And this could be even the best intentioned person who's just looking to make their sales numbers for the week. They think that it fits your needs and it's looking good for you and it could really help you out. But because of the pressure that they're feeling, they're trying to push you into making a decision immediately. Back off the situation and wait. And unfortunately, people feel pressure to get their sales goals done. Take time to read, investigate, do your homework, protect yourself from becoming a victim. All right? That is just a consistent theme for all these tips. And if you feel confused, especially if you feel confused, get help before you get committed and you put your signature on anything. All right, so my next tip comes directly from the DRE paper verbatim. This is a quote, and I'm going to read it to you directly from the paper that I quoted. I'm getting this show information from. Anyone, including scammers, without an appropriate or legitimate California license can advertise on television or radio, in newspapers, magazines, or on the internet. I'm going to read that again. Anyone, including scammers, without an appropriate or legitimate California license can advertise on television or radio, in newspapers, magazines, or on the internet. And this is the next quote. With very rare exception, the claims of people and companies who advertise are not verified for truthfulness, honesty, or compliance with the law, and there is no screening done for those who are doing the advertising. So keep that in mind. if you are listening to somebody on the radio, including myself, and you don't feel like what the information is true or cannot be verified, trust your gut. Or if you feel like you need their real estate license, ask them for it. Or do your homework and research on the information that's being provided. Always check and verify. As somebody once said, trust but verify. Trust but verify. Even me, with the greatest of intention of providing information, can make a mistake. I'm a human being. I could make mistakes as well. I try not to, and I try to do the best I can and do the homework in order to give you valid information, but verify. Double check, make sure it's okay. You can actually get this information from the California Department of Real Estate. It's on their website. This is a warning of fake news. Just because you see it on the television does not mean that it's true and trustworthy. Scammers have the money to put together very convincing advertising that look true. And just because someone looks or sounds professional or knowledgeable does not mean that they are. Again, they are experts at looking or acting the part. Always verify credentials. Do your homework. So how much time do I have left, Mr. Producer? A little over a minute. All right. So, again, trust but verify. These people are experts at what they do. They try to look the part. They're great actors. They also have money that allows them to advertise on television, the radio, newspapers, and they are very, very convincing. So if it doesn't sound right or it's too good to be true, bring your family members involved or do the internet research yourself. Look into it, because I guarantee you, if they've scammed somebody else in the past, it's out there. I've done it myself. I've looked up companies that were advertising to me, and it sounded too good to be true. And I did some internet research and found all kinds of information out there talking about how big of a scam it is. So do your homework, do your research. Now, when we get back from the break, we're going to get into some more tips, and then hopefully we'll have time to go through what are some current frauds that are being perpetrated on seniors out there so that you can be aware of them if they come across your doorstep. And I will see you when I get back from the break. See you in a minute. All right. I am being a little bit quiet. We don't want any silence, though. How about a little DJ horn? Yeah, today's show is lit. Today's show is lit. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate all that you do, that you stay connected with me on my live feeds. This is absolutely fantastic. Okay, we're going to get back into this thing. Is this a long segment or a short one? 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to jump into this and cover a few things and then wrap the show. All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining me on the Real Estate Connection. Your host here, Stephen Thayard, realtor and probate real estate specialist. Thank you for joining me on today's show as we have gone through tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud. Okay, so short segment, we're going to run through a few more tips. Never transfer or sign your home over to any third party or anyone else who claims that such a transfer can or will help you repair your credit or keep you in your home. Also, never sign a power of attorney giving rights to your property or money to any individual or any company you do not personally know or trust. So basically, there are scammers out there who are going to tell you, hey, if you sign over your deed to your house to me or give me power of attorney over you, then I can work more efficiently to get the job done. Big, giant, massive red flag. Big, giant, massive red flag. beg, never do it. Never, ever, 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 ever sign over power of attorney to a stranger or a company you're not familiar with, or to a third party. Okay, get a family member involved immediately, and call the police and the local authorities to check these people out. That is a big, giant no-no. Okay, the other tip is monitor and check from time to time the title to all of your real estate holdings, just like you do with your credit report, credit card statements, or bank account. All right, so from just once a year, go and check the title on your house and make sure it's still in your name. Just like you would check your credit report or check your bank statements from time to time, or your credit card statements, to make sure somebody hasn't stolen your identity or actually stolen the title to your house. It's better to find out early and to do something about it than later on when you go to really do a real estate transaction, either through a refinance or a sale, to find out something has happened. So make that a habit. And if you're not sure how to do it, contact me or contact a family member and they can walk you through it. So here are some current real estate related frauds to be aware of that are being perpetrated on senior citizens right now. Timeshare resale and rental schemes. Scammers will oftentimes get lists of timeshare owners and misrepresent to owners that a buyer or a renter is interested in a timeshare unit, and all the owner has to do is pay or wire an amount of money for handling, legal processing, or some other supposed service fee. But in reality, there is no real buyer or potential renter, and the money sent to the scammers are gone forever. So beware of timeshare resale and rental schemes. Internet rental fraud. This is a big one. Beware of rentals that are too good to be true. Often winds up on bulletin boards such as Craigslist's or on Facebook, or somebody's advertising a rental. It's a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood where there are not a lot of rentals available, and they're telling you that the rents are under market value, and you can drive by and take a look at it, and if you like it, just send a check for the deposit and the property is yours. Oftentimes they say that there's all kinds of reasons or excuses why they can't let you inside, but if you just send in the deposit, the house is yours and you can move in at the end of the month. Don't fall for it. If you can't go and look at the property in person, do not do the rental. It's a scam, it's a fraud, and report these people. All right, so that's it. I hope these tips for seniors to avoid real estate fraud have been helpful to you and your family. Thank you for joining me on the show. If you have any questions, contact me at info@realestateConnectionRadio.com or call me directly at 408-472-0817. Again, 408-472-0817. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the United States of America. And I will see you next week on the Real Estate Connection. We will talk about all things real estate again in Northern California. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. And I'm signing out. See you later. Bye-bye. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I will be calling you next week. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, and that's it for the show. Thank you very much, all you people that are watching me on YouTube live. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get the bugs fixed with Facebook. All right, take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.